Hey everyone, and welcome back to the series on Python. In this session, we will learn about comments. Let's get started. So, first of all, what is a comment in Python or any programming language in general? So, in any programming language, a comment is a line or multiple lines written by the programmer, that is, written by who is creating the programs, and uh, that line or that those multiple lines are ignored by the language processor. So basically, a comment is a line or multiple lines written by the programmer that is ignored by the language processor. So let's say we make a program. Okay, just a second. And it contains various lines of code. So when we execute this program or when we run this program, each of these lines are processed by the language processor, right? So in case of Python, each of these lines are first of all compiled and then interpreted. So in the case of comments, if let's say the third line that we have written is a comment, so this line will not be processed by the language processor. That is, this line will be skipped by the language processor of Python during processing the code. Now you might be thinking, why does the language processor do? Why is there a concept of comment? If it is not been processed, why do we even write comments? So we will understand about this in the next slides. Let's see. So first of all, let's see how to write a comment in Python. So first of all, we can write two kinds of comments. First one is single line, the next one is multiple lines. So for single line comments, we can start writing it using the hash symbol. So let's say we have to write a comment called this is a comment. So we can say this followed by a hash. Let's actually see this in ideally. So here we have opened up ideally. Let's actually go to our rough file. Now let's say a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and then print a is a and b is b, like that. And let's use an f string. Okay, so if we run this, you know already, right, what we are going to be getting, because you have understood till now this is just a simple program. So a is 1 and b is 2. This should be the output. Let's see. Yes, this is not too bad. This is actually simple. But now let's introduce the concept of comments. Let's add a comment over here. Let's say displaying the value of a and b. Now we have written this line after this hash symbol. So this whole thing is not going to be what is it's not going to be processed by the Python's compiler. Okay, so this thing basically is not going to be executed. This will be completely ignored by the Python's language processor. This is called a comment. Now let's see. See, we got the same result and no output and no error due to this line because it's just getting ignored by the compiler of Python. Now let's see what happens when I remove this hash symbol. See, we got an invalid syntax error because it's now trying to what processing this line of code, but it cannot do that because it's an invalid code. So if we have to let's say write a comment, we need to use a hash symbol. And I will also recommend giving a space after this hash symbol to maintain a better readability of the code. Okay, so now why are we writing these things? Why do we need to write a comment? So first of all, you may have noticed it's one use case. We can use comments to basically explain what we are doing in the code. So for example, in this case, we are just displaying the value of a and b. So we have said displaying the value of a and b. It might not be seeming much more useful in this small program, but when we will be writing let's say very big programs, it is very good and helps us to basically understand what we were doing in this program in the future. Because let's say we made a program of 100 lines or even 1000 lines of code, and then we are coming after let's say 6 months or 1 year, and we are not able to understand what a certain line does. So we can use a comment, and then when we will be reading comment, we can then understand what that code actually does. And it's also helpful for other programmers. So let's say we made a program and we know what we are doing using this code, but let's say other programmers do not, so they can understand what we are doing using the concept of comments. Now this was a single line comment. Let's say we have to write a comment that is multiple lines. So how do we write multiple lines of comments? Let's see. So let's say we have to include these two lines. This is first line, this is second line. Okay. So how do we actually do that? Well, we enclose the sentences or lines within triple quotes. So first of all, there is nothing, or there is no symbol of triple quotes on the keyboard, right? We only have single quotes and double quotes. So to create triple quotes, what we can do is, let's actually write the same comment. Let's say we want to write, this is first line, this is second line over here. So first of all, how do we give triple quotes? We can use single quotes triple times like this, and this will create a triple quotes. Or we can also use double quotes triple times like this will also work. Let's first of all use single quotes 3 times, and now let's say this is, or wait, let's just say over here this is first line, and then this is second line, and close it using triple quotes again. So this is a multi-line comment, you can see, because there are 2 lines over here. So now if we run this, we are going to be getting the same output, because it's just a comment. To make it more readable, what you can do is actually send the triple quotes above the comment line. It will be probably easier to maintain. Now one more thing I would like to say, this triple quotes thing that we have written over here, or multi-line comment that we have written over here, can also be interpreted as a multi-line string. So let's try this. Let's actually store this thing. Let's say c is equal to this comment. Actually, now you might be thinking this is ignored by the compiler, right? But in case of multi-line comments, actually the comment is a string. So we can store this multi-line string in a variable, let's say like a variable called c. So in place of printing all these things, let's just print the value of c now. Let's see what we get. See, we got, this is first line, this is second line, and there's 2 empty lines. The reason for it is we have left this line and this line empty. So if we do like this, if we do not leave spaces or empty lines before and after triple quotes, then we will get no empty lines this time. You can see this time we have not gotten any empty lines. Okay, so this was multiple line comment or multiple line string also. For the most part, we will be using this single line comment, and like multi-line comment, you can't just do like this. Like let's say this time we do hash this is a comment. This will not work. This is actually error. You can see we got an invalid syntax. because the single line comment is actually not a string. It's not a multi-line string that it can be stored in a variable. It's a special case for the multi-line comment only. Now let's talk about the significance of comments. And by the way, these methods of writing comments were only for Python. In other languages, obviously we will be having other syntaxes. Now let's understand about significance of comments in programming in general. So the first one is it makes the code more readable. So let's say we write, obviously, as I told you, let's say we write thousands lines of code. So if we will be just writing codes and codes, it will seem a little weird. So as we will be including comments for each code or each uh, line of code that we will be writing, it will seem much more readable and good looking. So let me just show you. Let's say print a and then print p. This is fine, right? If we run this will work, 1 and 2. But now let's actually use comment, and we can also use single line comments in the same line that we are writing the code. So when where we are displaying the value of a, let's say displaying the value of a, and in this one let's say displaying the value of p. So now it might not be seeming so much readable, but trust me, when we will be writing a big program, it will really seem much more readable and cool. So if we run this, we will be getting obviously the same output because it's just a comment. Now the second point helps you and especially other programmers in understanding what a code does. So basically, I have already explained about this. Whenever we write, let's say thousands and 2000s lines of code, that is a very big program. It might be not understandable by us if we come after it like a year ago, sorry, a year later. And also for other programmers too, it might not be understandable. So just aside a code, we can write a comment so that we and other programmers can actually understand what that piece of code is actually doing. Okay, so that is the second point. It helps us and other programmers understand in what a code actually does, what a specific code does. Now the third one can also be used to prevent execution of a certain code during testing. So this might not seem much helpful for now, but let me just say what I am trying to explain. So first of all, just let's actually create a variable called c. Now let's say for testing purposes, we just want to run these two statements first. That is print a and b, and we don't want this to run. So how can we stop this statement to run? Obviously we can get rid of this, right? But that would be bad if we want to write that again. It might be a big statement and it would be pain to write that whole statement again. So instead we can just use the concept of comment, and we can actually include a hash symbol before it so that the Python language processor doesn't process it. So now if we run this, we are only going to be getting the output of these two things. Let's see what we get. Yes, we got only 1 and 2. Now in the next case, let's say we want to display the value of c, but we don't want to display the value of b. So again we will use a hash symbol for print b, and now we get 1 and 3. So this is just for testing purposes. You will understand and find this thing more useful as you will move ahead in programming. So I hope the significance of comments in programming is clear to you. And if you have any doubt about comments, please let me know in the comments of this YouTube video. So this is it for this session on Python about comments. Actually, I should have taken the session on comments very earlier, but I was just taking other sessions like data types, conditionals, etc. So I hope this was helpful to you, and please feel free to comment any doubts, queries, etc. if you have. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.